Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Friday, October 11th, folks. We survived another week of the Biden-Harris administration. And let me tell you, it's been a doozy. And we can't handle another 4 years of all this shenanigans, all this lawlessness of an executive branch that doesn't want to carry out the laws, of you being second-class citizens in your own country. Folks, the biggest election of our lifetimes is coming up. I see all the Patriots in the live chat. We got a lot of you, and it's only growing, folks. If you could, hit that like button right off the bat. It does help support our channel, and it pushes our videos out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Well, folks, Kamala Harris had a town hall yesterday, and, well, it didn't really go as planned. She botched it. It was kind of like that plastic surgery show, Botched. And no, I'm not talking about Joe Biden's face. I'm talking about Kamala Harris' performance last night because it was terrible. And we have clip after clip after clip. And I would also like to point out our little friend showed up yesterday. And you might be going, well, who's the friend? I don't remember. Well, it's been a while since we mentioned this friend. Yeah, do you guys remember a friend that wears the heavyweight belt of the world? It's the champion. It's duked it out with Joe Biden for the last 4 years and has never lost. It is, in fact, undefeated. I used to say it is the most insane statistic in all of politics. The teleprompter's back, but this time it's not just defeating Joe. It's showing up at Kamala Harris's town halls. Is she reading from a teleprompter? Is she having notes displayed while she's giving people answers? Is it all pre-scripted? Well, she got caught yesterday, and we're going to bring the receipts for you, folks. Couldn't be more than happy to have you with us. Let's jump into the news. As you know, we got to do a little bit of teasing before we jump into the main theme, which, again, is that town hall. Now, Mayor Eric Adams sits there and puts taxpayers on the hook for how much? $1.6 billion on migrants, maybe through 2029. Who knows? We're just shooting from the hip right now. This guy is falling apart, and he's allowing New York to do it as well. Mayor Eric Adams, prospect of winning a second term. Jeez, I told you, the insanity continues. They will continue to vote blue forever, or even finishing the first are increasingly uncertain. But he's trying to ensure that one big future of his mayoralty stays in office, even if he doesn't. Billions of dollars in taxpayer money to put migrants up in hotels. While the veterans are on the streets, while Americans are just sleeping everywhere out there. But we'll make sure we put the migrants up in hotels, and you're going to pay for it. As I've always mentioned, you're paying for your own bills, but you're also paying for everybody else's bills. Governor Hochul should step in to nix his latest contract bid, which would and could have border crossers in hotel rooms until 2029. Folks, he wants to put migrants up there. City Hall announced Wednesday that it will close the 3,000 capacity Randall's Island tent shelter, scene of 2 murders by February. Remember when we showed the whole clip of these encampments that they've built for these migrants? And they had Xboxes, plasma TVs, cell phone services, laundry services, recreational services, bedding, full beds. They got couches, coffee tables, revolving menu. This one really astonishes me. It wasn't that we were just giving them food, right, so they could feed themselves. No, we were giving them food that was catered to the country of which they're coming from, and it revolves, meaning that if you have breakfast, that country's breakfast will be served, and you have a lot of different countries that are at that shelter. And it's the same thing for lunch and dinner. It's astonishing. Air conditioning. I was waiting for the inflatable jacuzzis to show up because it wouldn't surprise me because you're all paying for it and this guy's allowing it to happen. And to be more specific, it's not just this guy, it's the Democrats that are allowing it to happen. Have you ever seen the Democrats flip on a dime so quickly regarding a subject, meaning immigration? Remember, just like 4 years ago, it wasn't even really 4 years ago, I would say 2.5, it was still racist to want to deport people. It was racist to sit there and want to build a border wall. It was racist to do all these things. You were a bigot. The fact that you were even talking about it, you're sick, right? Now all of a sudden Democrats want to do it. Now all of a sudden majority of Americans are on board about all this stuff. It's really remarkable. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We have Mud Whistle with the $50 sticker on YouTube. What is going on? Mud Whistle coming out banging. I love to see it. Thank you, sir. That's a salute right there. You are keeping the lights on for us. Greatly appreciated. And like Secret Agent said, hit the button, subscribe, and share. That was really nice of you, man. Wow. Okay. That knocked me off the wall. Look at that. Putting the money into a conservative rather than putting money into migrants like the Democrats want to do. Again, that's a double salute. Double salute. So he bragged that his policy of getting single adult migrants who stay there to move on after 30 or 60 days has been effective. We covered this. It's not effective at all. So this is what they're doing. It's a total manipulation. It's actually really messed up. So it's a revolving door. What they're doing is you could stay 30 or 60 days, right, in that migrant shelter, that migrant encampment. But then they're going to give you the boot. And then the next group comes in and takes it up for 30 to 60 days. And what you're seeing is just cyclical. So they're just shifting. And at one point or another, that same group that was originally in that shelter is going to wind up back in that shelter as well. And so that was a story that we covered, is that they're just jumping from shelter to shelter. So maybe you have 2 or 3 shelters set up. You go from this shelter for 30 to 60 days, and then a new group comes in, and the original group will shift to this shelter, and then it just goes around. And so it makes it seem like, oh, well, we're doing a great job. No, you're not. And he's been begging Biden for billions of dollars as well. I mean, their whole infrastructure is just completely collapsed. And also their education system has completely collapsed as well. They don't have enough teachers in there to speak different languages to support all these people. And again, it's not just Hispanics. It's also Chinese people coming in. I mean, they're coming from all different countries, like 150. So here's Donald Trump's spokeswoman who's taken over from Kayleigh McEnany. And, well, I think she's saying a lot of what we're saying here.
American people are essentially subsidizing free lifestyles for illegal immigrants who break our country's laws. American taxpayers who are struggling to put food on the table, buy groceries, buy gasoline to fill up their vehicles, struggling to afford their mortgage payments, which have increased 50% since Kamala Harris took office. And then we're using billions and billions of our tax dollars to give illegal immigrants free stays in luxury hotels, to give them prepaid debit cards to buy diapers and clothing and food for their families. It is fundamentally unfair and it is un-American. Kamala Harris wants to keep all of these illegal immigrants here. President Trump is going to deport them back to their home countries.
All
and
of
he's
them?
going to
Wait, is he going to deport all of them? Wait, hang on.
American
Sorry,
families.
Caroline, hang on a second. Is he going to deport illegal aliens accused of crimes, or all illegal immigrants?
He is going to deport all of the illegal immigrants that Kamala Harris has allowed.
The hell face is she giving there? The chick in the freaking pink. This is Fox Business, by the way. First of all, lady, you are in the news. Like, you would think you would know his plan. And JD's done this explicitly, where how are you going to sit there and fashion this? How are you going to do it? You have to increase ICE. You have to increase the localities in terms of the police departments willing to sit there and expose the fact there's an illegal immigrant in this household or somewhere on the streets or in this migrant shelter, whatever it may be. And then also utilize our military, because this is going to be a massive deportation operation like we saw from Eisenhower, except like 10x plus. Then you have to sit there and go, okay, well, who are we going to start with first? Because you can't just sit there and start knocking on all the doors. Let's go after the criminals, the murderers, the sex offenders, the drug, right? The gang members, those people that are doing all these things. And you start with them, and then you have it trickle its way down to other people. So this whole idea of like, you're going to deport everybody, I don't think he is, truthfully, because I don't think there's enough time in 4 years. But I think he's going to start with a lot of the criminals and the bad people, which is a good thing.
To come into this country, the largest mass deportation operation in history. But we're going to start with the convicted criminals. We know there's nearly 500,000 of them. Kamala wants them to stay. President Trump is going to make them go home.
Carol.
Bye-bye. 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 Adios. Sayonara. So, look, good, because, again, it's causing everything to go up in price. And how much, I'm not exactly sure, because we're not exactly sure how many illegal immigrants are here. We're not exactly sure what the bill looks like, because the government doesn't tell us. That's why. Can you imagine what the subsidy looks like and all this stuff? The medical, right? The education expense, them causing your grocery prices to go up because they're buying the same food as you are. Your taxes going up in some way, shape, or form. I mean, everything goes up because you have more than half the population of our states here in terms of people here illegally. Well, they pay taxes too, not in the same proportion of what services they're taking from the system, But Democrats will pretzel their way into some sort of logic that it's okay for people to do that. In the same way they pretzeled their way into the logic of, well, it's okay to come here illegally. It's okay to sit there and cut the line. But it's funny, those same people that say those types of things and they're at an amusement park or they're in the grocery line or they're in some sort of line and they've only been standing there for 10 minutes and somebody cuts their ass, all of a sudden they're up in arms, right? All of a sudden they get all pissed off when somebody cuts them off in line when they're in some small theme park or whatever. But somebody that's been waiting in line for years and paid thousands of dollars to be a citizen in this country and somebody cuts in front of them, God forbid that you speak up and you're a little pissed off. But again, the rationale is completely out the window, and the pretzel flopping and mixing and twisting is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Folks, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, if you're enjoying and having fun here on the Bald Brad channel, and I appreciate you choosing our outlet or our channel to get your news first thing in the morning, hit that like button. And also, why don't you subscribe already? What are you doing? Follow us over at Rumble. We're building that platform out over there because screw the commies on YouTube. Not you patriots, the commies running the show, meaning the people actually working for YouTube. Screw them. Well, Kamala Harris, she's having a media blitz, and, well, that didn't make her look any better. It was just a massive flop. This is coming from the New York Post, folks, and it's an opinion piece. Vice President Kamala Harris finally sat down this week for multiple media interviews on consecutive days, a first for her presidential campaign. Folks, we're like 3 weeks out from the election, and now she's doing this, and she still sucks. There's a reason why they haven't been chauffeuring out, and we know. We've seen enough interviews now. We've seen enough botchness. We've seen enough fumbling or edited interviews to know that she's not capable of like saying a coherent thought, let alone running a state or a country. So yet most of them weren't even interviews at all, but the journalist version of a hot stone massage. The Veep's first major stop was 60 minutes, and they edited the bleep out of it. And by the way, now senators are calling for the whole thing to come out because it's all manipulation. It's all fabrication. In the same way, the Biden-Harris administration was all scripted. It was all fake. It was all planned. I mean, Joe Biden literally stood on the podium for the first time in almost 4 years for a White House press briefing. And just so you know, I think I'm okay to say this. We talk with Jackie Heinrich of Fox News on Instagram, as well as Philip Wegman of Real Clear Politics, both White House correspondents in that room. And I've asked them both individually, and this was probably 2 years ago when I asked this specific question. I said, hey, when are we going to get Joe Biden on the podium to answer everybody's questions? It might have been around the classified document scandal or the Twitter files. It was over something where it's like, maybe the president should be speaking about this, not some knucklehead reading out of a binder. And the answers I kind of got was, well, it's not unprecedented to see the president not appearing on the podium. Like, it's common that they don't go there. But I'm like, it's been 2 years and we haven't seen this guy once. I mean, we would see Trump up there all the time duking out with like Jim Acosta and all these other knuckleheads. So in the same way here, it's all fabricated. It's all manipulated. It's all freaking Hollywood. And then you got Trump coming out. Screw you, Jim. Jim, you freaking sandbag son of a bee. I'm tired. Go ahead. No, you're rude. Sit down, Jim. Jim, sit down. Right? It's not scripted. It's all legit when you're dealing with Trump. Refreshingly, and for the first time since she replaced Joe Biden atop the Democrat ticket, she was actually challenged with some uncomfortable questions and gasp, even follow-up. Bill Whitaker of CBS seemingly flummoxed her non-answers and word salads on major topics like economic policy and illegal immigration, while Harris looked patently uncomfortable. Now, I want to point out for this 60-minute interview, that's even with it edited. Can you imagine what it would look like if they actually showed you the full footage of her thinking, how am I going to fix things? Well, I've been here. You think that me saying I'm middle class would work again? Do you think the people are stupid enough? I mean, there's actual kids now that are going on like TikTok making fun of Kamala Harris because they even see through all of it. They even see through all the shenanigans that's going on. She can't answer freaking basic questions. And same thing with Joe. I don't know if Joe rubbed off on her, and that'd be kind of gross if he did literally, but you understand, this is metaphorical. Don't be weird. It would make sense somewhat that he's like contagious, like he has some sort of disease and he just rubs off on other people. And because he's practically brain dead, everybody else around him becomes brain dead, which would make sense why we're in the state of this country of which we're in, because everybody running the show up there in Washington is brain dead. Something's going on. Something weird's going on. Something has to be contagious. I mean, is Joe patient zero? Is Joe an experiment? Is Joe like a puppet chauffeured out on a gurney that we don't know about? What's going on with the guy? What's going on? And what's going on with Kamala Harris? She didn't used to talk like that. Tell you, something weird going on. There's something really weird going on. What are you guys laughing about in the chat? What do you guys, I feel like that's one thing about doing the show is I feel like I kind of miss a little bit of the chat. Like, you know, when you're seeing a bunch of people having fun and you're kind of over there by yourself and you're like, what are they laughing about? I want to have fun. That's what our community is doing right now to me. I feel like I want to be in there. You know, I mean, I'm in here, but I want to be in there. I want to be in the loop with all of you. Damn, we got a good community. That's why you guys join, right? It's not because of this. It's because of all of you. That's the community we're building here. That's what we got going on the Bald Brad Show, and it's greatly appreciated, folks. I love that you guys are having a blast, having a fun. And I heard from a secret agent yesterday, you guys are having a blast in the live chat as well yesterday, so that's pretty cool to see. That's what it's all about. Now, we talked a little bit about Barack Obama yesterday because there was drama between Joe, and there's drama between Barack, and there was drama between John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre. I mean, the drama is like Hollywood. It's all manifesting now. Everybody's putting the blame. F you, man. You're sick. It's your fault. Well, Obama admits Harris campaign doesn't have energy of his White House run. What an egotistical, you know what, dude. What a jerk, man. Claims black men opposed to her aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. Oh, that's what it is. Jesus, dude. So if it's not about race, right? It's about sex and gender. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with her being a woman. She just sucks at her job, man. I don't get this. It's like the same thing whenever I hound Karine Jean-Pierre for being terrible at her job. Well, you misogynistic pig. How could you sit there and say that about a woman? I don't care that she's a woman. She's an idiot. I called John Kirby a knucklehead too, and Anthony Blinken, and Jake Sullivan, and Joe Biden, and Adam Schiff, and Chuck Schumer. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you're a knucklehead, I'm going to call you out. I don't care that you're a woman. Kayleigh McEnany was a woman. Best White House press secretary, probably to go down in American history. I don't know who could beat her out. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was great as well. Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador, phenomenal job. Doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. I just care that you could do your job well. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. But this is Democrats, right? It's all about race, or it's all about sex or gender, all this stuff, right? So former President Barack Obama suggested Thursday that men are opposed to Vice President Kamala Harris simply because she is a woman, while dissing the Democratic nominee for not producing the same kinds of energy as his campaign. We have yet to see the same kind of energy and turnout in all corners of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Black voters for Harris event in Pittsburgh ahead of a rally for Harris. I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers, referring to black men. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's the brothers, right? It's the brothers that are sitting out. He says this over at Fox. He says, we have not yet seen that same kind of energy in the turnout. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind for a second, I've got to speak to y'all and say that when you have a choice that is this clean, when on the one hand, you have somebody who grew up like you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and the pain and joy that comes from those experiences. See, that's what they do, right? Is that because you grew up in the same racial neighborhood, well, you could share in those same experiences, and those same experiences somehow is going to translate to their leadership. And because you have the same experiences when they grew up, and that's translating later on in life through a leadership of a presidential candidate, that's all of a sudden going to sit there and make your life better. It didn't work for Barack. Actually, your life got way unsafer. So much so that Thomas Sowell, who is a black man, by the way, one of my top favorite men that's ever existed in human existence. I love the guy. Yeah, he wrote a lot of books. Check him out. Even he says that Barack Obama is the worst president in American history. He's worse than Joe Biden. Let that one sink in. That says everything you need to know. So here's Jesse Waters of Waters World talking about the very thing that we were displaying just now.
Obama thinks Kamala Harris has officially plateaued. And behind the scenes, he's saying worse. Kamala's losing the black vote. He was caught saying this just moments ago in Pittsburgh.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhood neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have...
Well, we got the spinning wheel of death, but you get the message, you get the picture, and just Jesse sits there and wallops him over the side of the head. And it actually works out in our benefit that we don't have to hear Barack, because we'll all end up dumber if we have to. So he's going to sit there and push the race card, mixing it with gender, and go, well, that's because of this and that's because of that. They suck at their job, you guys. That's really what it comes down to. Democrats suck at their jobs. And you want to know who really sucks at their job? And I still can't fathom how this person hasn't been fired or impeached or whatever the hell you want to call it. Doesn't matter to me. Is DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, because he went up against Wonder Woman, Jackie Heinrich of Fox News yesterday during the White House press briefing. And let me tell you, she exposed this guy. This guy is scummy. He's up there in the swamp in terms of the most swamp creature you could possibly create. And he kind of looks like one too. So before we jump into that, folks, again, hit that like button. It does help support us. Hit that subscribe and follow button if you haven't already. We do this every weekday, folks, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We would love for you to become part of our community of patriots. And if you haven't already and you've been showing up every day, what are you doing? And also, what are you doing? Check out our most recent sponsor here. I want to talk about things that people are afraid to say out loud, and there's a lot of them. Who is in control of America's nukes, folks? I don't think it's Joey. And God forbid if it's Kamala. It's not Biden. Meanwhile, we have Russian ships off the coast of Florida and a full-blown war in Ukraine and Israel. You got Lebanon in the mix now, folks. Things are going south really quick. The world is at its most unstable point since, I don't know, World War II. It's really bad. And with nuclear weapons, the stakes are 10 times higher. How do people like you and I stay safe? Well, let me tell you, every prepper needs to have Radio Guard Ace, the only FDA-approved drug to treat radioactive fallout. Only the feds had it until now. They were holding it. They wouldn't allow us to have it. Well, now we can get it, baby. And that's why Rumble partnered with 5G Free. We've talked about them before. The only the only company in the world that has a supply of Radio Guard Ace and the ability to prescribe it to all of you fine people. Get their proactive radiation emergency kit with Radio Guard Ace, potassium iodide, Zofran, and a Geiger counter. You can sit there and like your wife. There's simply no other tool in your arsenal to protect against the radioactive threat. Go to 5gfree.com code studio to save 15% off and get your radiation kit now, folks. And I'm being honest about this. It wasn't really planned. I did have a dream last night that we did enter into World War III and the Iranians started it. And it's a stressful as hell dream. That is a hand to God true story. I woke up multiple times and you know, when you go back to sleep and you're wishing that you don't dream the same dream that you just got out of. That wasn't happening to me. I was stepping back foot in the trenches. It was stressful, man. And that's why I think you guys saw we went live a little bit earlier, just a little bit earlier, because we were prepped because your boy couldn't sleep. I was sweating. And it was rough, man. But enough about that. Again, we got Wonder Woman, Jackie Heinrich of Fox News duking it out and calling out DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas for immigration, for these murderers coming across the border, and just watch how he handles it.
Mr. Secretary, how was this man brought into the U.S.? What screening did he undergo? What did he apply for to get here?
Jackie, I'm here in North Carolina communicating with the individuals who are still conducting search and rescue operations. Over 200 people have lost their lives in Hurricane Helene. We have reports that at least 10 individuals have lost their lives as a result of Hurricane Milton. I'd be very pleased to answer your question in a different setting, but we're here to talk about it.
No, he wouldn't. They can't get this guy in a different setting. He sits there and hides from the press, which is why instead of asking about the victims and all these other things, which Fox has been covering for basically a week now, Mayorkas, Jackie has to take this moment to ask you about your botched immigration policies and your botched performance that you've done here as DHS secretary. So she has to take this moment now because she can't sit there and find you because you're a weasel and you're hiding in the swamp.
Emergencies and the support that we can deliver to people in desperate need. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Secretary, but we're getting conflicting answers from your agency and from the State Department about a man who was arrested for an election day terror plot. How do you not have those answers prepared?
Oh, Jackie, that's not what I said. What I said is I'd be pleased to discuss this issue at a different time, but I am here to speak about disasters that have impacted people's lives in real time, and that is a subject that I am addressing today.
Mr. Secretary, can you assure people that appropriate steps have been taken to secure the country against these kinds of threats? Because the outstanding question is whether this man was radicalized before the U.S. government brought him here or afterward. And people should be concerned about that.
Jackie, your persistence in questioning can be matched by my persistence in answers.
All right, we're going to go. Go ahead, Gabe.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
It's really astonishing that he's not going to sit there and answer it in the same way he wasn't willing to answer that whole idea of, hey, are there terrorists in this country? Is the border secure? And he was saying that the border wasn't secure. He was saying, well, a lot of lies to Congress. And I'll tell you something, it's pretty bonkers in terms of this guy still being allowed to run the Department of Homeland Security and make us a lot less safe in this country, not just for Democrats, but for Republicans, the Green Party, the psychos, everybody. A lot of people's talking about this guy, Thomas, but it says message deleted by Secret Agent 355. So it looks like the lib got what was coming to him. So we'll see. I don't know what he's saying. Let me know. Somebody type out what the man is saying in the chat. We'll see. Somebody summarize it up in one sentence for me. We'll see what we can do about that. I don't know if he got the boot or what. Not sure. So that's really telling because, again, he doesn't want to sit there and address the whole idea that he's terrible at his job. He doesn't want to sit there and address the fact that he's allowed 10 million plus people into this country, and that includes terrorists, it includes murderers, sex traffickers, smugglers, drugs, all this stuff. He is resoundingly making this country a worse place. One man is doing it. He's one of the most evil people, I think, in all of government right now, other than Adam Schiff. And that says a lot because you have Joe Biden up there. You got Kamala Harris up there as well. All these people are just destroying this country, and Democrats will sit there and they'll line up in the millions to vote for this stuff again. I can't wrap my head around it, just like all of you can. I know we say it each and every day, but really, it is an astonishing thing to see that we're living in different realities. And if you look in the comment section during our chats, give it like a day or two. Just hop into some of our old videos, you guys, and just see what the liberals are saying. See what the Democrats are saying about the state of this country. And they'll tell you, well, what debate are you watching? Case in point, the JD Vance, Tim Walz debate, where JD completely wiped the floor with that guy. I mean, there was no comparison. They were telling me in that chat for that video, well, we're clearly watching two different debates. I thought Walz won. What debate are you watching? Everybody, majority of even your own party think that you got your ass kicked. And you're going to sit there and tell me that Walz beat JD, really? Jesus. I shouldn't be surprised. These are the same people that think men can become women, women can become men. You know, they sit there and live in a false reality. But, you know, it's all us that are wrong. Now, Biden's presser goes sideways in a hurry when a reporter asks about Netanyahu. Folks, this went really bad for Joey. This went really bad for Joey. There's a clip here, which we'll get to, but things went a little bit sideways on Thursday when President Joe Biden spoke to reporters about a recovery effort in the aftermath of hurricanes that hit Florida. Biden was taking questions from the press when AFP White House correspondent Danny Kemp asked for an update on hostilities between Israel and Lebanon. And well, Joey got a little upset. And not only that, he was also asked about Trump, and well, he stormed off. We'll watch that as well. Here we go.
Mr. President, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu tell you about his plans relating to retaliation?
He's coming over to help with the storm.
Mr. President, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu tell you about his plans relating to the retaliation against? He's coming over to help with the storm. Dude, that guy's so far gone. Joe is so far freaking gone. You really, it makes you wonder. I mean, everybody's commenting on Twitter, by the way. Somebody's here saying, Well, that's nice of him. That comes from Michael Knowles. Shout out to Michael. A recurrent Democrat talking point for years has been that Trump is embarrassing when it comes to international affairs. Here, Biden thought Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is a hurricane relief worker. Jesus, dude. Where's our apology for Democrats voting for this guy? Have you guys noticed that? Like, you didn't even run the most. Allegedly, he's the most popular president that's ever ran in American history. And they sat there and dropped the guy. You got Curtis saying, President Biden misleads viewers by saying he and Vice President Harris are on the lookout for a price gouging Florida, promising federal action. Price gouging in Florida has already been a crime for decades. Let's check this out. This guy, geez Louise.
Additionally, Vice President Harris and I said yesterday, and we'll say it again, to anyone who seeks to take advantage of our fellow Americans' desperation, whether you're a company engaging in price gouging or a citizen trying to scam your neighbors, we will go after you and we will hold you accountable.
I really, it makes you wonder where he gets this stuff. You know what I mean? It really does. And then somebody, this one really floored me yesterday. I actually asked this on Twitter yesterday if this is real. This dude is asked about Donald Trump and he loses his mind. The Trump derangement syndrome is so deep that he actually pulls a Karine Jean-Pierre and just walks off the stage.
His plans relating to retaliation.
He's coming over to help with the storm.
Mr. President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better than the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
Do you plan to speak with former President Trump?
No.
Jesus. You, the press, better hold him accountable. How about all the stuff you destroyed? How about holding you accountable? We've been waiting for that for years and it just never happened. I mean, for a short moment, right? We got maybe 3 weeks of the media finally waking up to the fact that Joe Biden wasn't cognizant, that Joe Biden is sitting there being chauffeured out on a gurney to sit there and lead this country, allegedly, with his brain not working. Yeah. We got 3 weeks and then it just goes back to normal. 3 weeks and then we got to pretend like Joey's okay. Oh, he needs to go out and help the hurricane victims. He was there before you, asshole. Like, I don't even think Joe's been there yet. Joe could barely walk to Marine One through blades of grass. You think he's going to be able to walk over freaking pebbles? Remember how they have to give him very specialized shoes to go off terrain? Jesus, man. I try to understand where people are coming from in terms of voting for Joey, but I don't think I ever will. In the same way that people are going to line up for Kamala Harris. So let's get into her town hall right now. And it was botched. It was pretty bad. And then we'll jump into a little bit of Tim Walz if we have time, because Tim Walz had an interview yesterday and that was terrible too. And no matter what interview you really throw these people in or in front of the camera, they completely just run it right into the ground like this country. So Comrade Kamala, it's time to turn the page. America's ready for a new way forward. Folks, it really is just a weird thing to say when you're the sitting vice president right now. It's odd. It's like, why would you need to turn the page if everything is going so great? Like, if your administration was so fine, why would you need to turn the page?
Well, folks, it's time to turn the page. It's time to turn the page. And America is ready for a new way forward.
And that new way forward for her is Marxism. That's the new way forward, to sit there and tax the crap out of you. Oh, well, you're going to get $25 for this or that. Okay. All right. Jerry said the only person who apologized for voting for this POS was the Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and he should have, for knowingly the POS has destroyed our bleeping country. Anyway, great video, Brad. Hey, thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that. And the highlight with the bald Brad, that caught my attention, man. Let me tell you. I was like, what's my name being said about? So that's what she threw down. And with all these promises that, well, she's not going to be able to keep, she's going to bring down housing costs, you guys. Yeah, she's going to do it. Remember, she's in office right now. Kamala, you still got like 2-3 months there, girl.
A future where we build, for example, what I call an opportunity economy, where everyone has the ability to compete and have a real chance to succeed. Under my economic plan, we will bring down the cost of housing. Arizona, you know that's an issue we need to deal with. A future.
Yeah, you're in there now. You can just solve it now. So she has this town hall, and she debuts this new accent. I mean, this is coming out more than ever. If you realize that she has like I don't know if you call it Ebonics or like an African American or black accent, right? You know, there's a certain type of way that some people talk in this country, and a little bit of dialect. And then she comes out the other day, I think it was yesterday, with like a Jamaican accent. And then she talked like a Valley girl at one point. And now this one's new. She's on Univision and starts getting a little Hispanic.
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I hope your family is okay and your home is okay. Well,
oh my God. It's worse than I thought. We're going to play it again. This was so good. This was good.
first of all, thank you for the question. I hope your family is okay and your home is okay. It's okay and it's okay and it's okay and you're okay and your home is okay. It's okay and your home is okay.
I'll tell you what, fool. I hope your home is okay. I'll tell you what. You know, orale in the home, chaparale. You need to sit there and make sure everything is fine and dandy on me. Is your home okay over there on the Univision? So that was embarrassing. And then she goes on, and she's confronted with criticism of her hurricane response. This is not a time for people to play politics. Says the lady that finally calls Ron DeSantis up and cares about a hurricane or any sort of natural disaster.
The administration didn't do enough in terms of relief for families affected by Helene. What would your administration do differently in the case of Milton?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I hope your family is okay and your home is okay.
Yes, they are, ma'am.
Okay. So there has been a lot of mis and disinformation about what we have been doing over the last 2 weeks and what we are going to do going forward. And
yes, some of you are catching this. That camera, you could see it right now. The camera in the middle of your screen. Do you see what's written on that? That is a teleprompter. Now, I don't know if she's reading from it, but it could have notes on it. Or it could be just the question, because all this is pre-scripted, right? They pretend like these people didn't already have the questions or questions given to them. They usually do. So it could just be the question on the teleprompter, because you know that she can't remember a few phrases, but it could also be her answers, and it's a way for her to sit there and kind of do a side eye and make sure she's following bullet points.
I have to stress that this is not a time for people to play politics.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what happens later, you guys, is the camera swings behind her and catches the teleprompter, and they end up turning it off. So we'll see if we can get to that. But it's wild. So Kamala, who was too busy fundraising for her rich San Francisco donors to respond to Hurricane Helene, says she's the best example of the importance of having leadership at a moment of crisis. I told you it's the most botched thing I've ever seen. This might go down as one of the worst town halls I've ever seen in politics. I really do mean that. The answers are just terrible, and it's completely gaslighting everybody.
Mentioned the hurricanes. I'll start by speaking to all of the people who are living in the Southeast corridor who have been so devastated by Hurricane Helene, Milton, and I cannot stress enough the work that we have been doing around the clock to make sure that the federal resources are on the ground in partnership with state and local leaders to do the work of giving people the relief they need so immediately, plus a commitment to helping people in the long term.
Is she diving back into that Spanish accent a little bit? Is anybody else picking up on that?
I do think that the crisis that we have just experienced and the ongoing effects of it because of these hurricanes are yet another example of the importance of having leadership at a moment of crisis who understands their role and responsibility. You mentioned the hurricanes. I'll start by speaking.
Moments of crisis, like the southern border, of which, again, they still have yet to call the border a crisis. Sometimes you get a little glimpse of it, like from John Kirby, we'll call it a crisis because he's somewhat half coherent. But then you get other times where they won't sit there and acknowledge it. It's still just a situation, you guys. The border is just a situation. They also called it a challenge. And speaking of the border, Kamala complains to Congress that they didn't pass her bill. The first she said and Biden proposed when they took office. She's going to complain about Congress. Lady, you're in the executive branch. You could sit there and solve this in an hour. In an hour.
The first bill we offered Congress, before we did the bipartisan infrastructure bill, before we did the work on gun safety, before we did the work on investing in chips and science, the first bill we offered within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix the immigration system, including creating a comprehensive, earned pathway to citizenship for hardworking people.
Do you notice, and we talked about this yesterday, and well, we've talked about it at length. Why didn't you get it done? Kamala, you had all three branches of government when you entered office. Why could you guys not get it done for that first year or 2 years? Because it sucked. Because everybody realized it doesn't solve anything. And the Democrats realized, well, we can't put this through because we want to allow all these people to pour across the border. Because then we could talk amnesty. Then we got freaking these people voting Democrat for, next time in the foreseeable future. You won't see a Republican sitting candidate or president in American history for the rest of at least your lifetime. Or ever. Because they're just going to produce more people that vote Democrat. It's astonishing that, well, we got to fix the immigration issue. Why don't you stop the bleeding first? But don't worry, she's going to talk to us and lecture us about leadership. That this is the time of crisis, that we're going to sit there and solve all your problems. You couldn't even solve San Francisco's problems, you guys. And somehow Democrats will pretzel their way into this whole idea that they're going to sit there and fix it. She's going to talk to us again, lectures about leadership. You guys, there's a teleprompter giving her the answers. There's a teleprompter that either shows the question or it shows bullet points. It sure in hell ain't her doing an ad read like we do here on the show. That's for sure. So now we're going to show you the teleprompter and it's all its glory. And watch what the producers do. They're screaming in there, cut the feed! Cut the feed, shit!
Of crime. Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? The only question I ever ask is, are you okay?
Watch, they're going to cut it.
And sadly, we have seen over the last 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene.
Y'all see that? Now I can't read because it only does, Elon Musk only allows 720 on the Twitter space. But watch this. Oh, all of a sudden, bye-bye. Bye-bye when they realize, and like at this point, right? They're sitting there like, oh, we're good. Oh, shit, cut it. The guy in the teleprompter, cut the feed, kick the cord. And then, boom, out. Now, again, I'm not willing to say if this had answers on it because I don't know. It could also be for the host to sit there and kind of use that as a guide as well. I don't know what it was for, but either way, it doesn't look good nonetheless. Oh, I just noticed I've got a new badge. Yes, Terry, that is right. I think it upgrades every month or every couple months, but it's a cool looking badge. That is the American Patriot badge. If you're curious, 99 cents a month, you can be part of the Bald Brad Army. 99 cents, you could feed a conservative. Just kidding, it doesn't really go to feeding me, right? It goes to running the show. Again, we have an editor named Franco now. Franco, I guess, was in the chat yesterday. Franco, if you are in here, give a shout out to yourself, brother. Franco is our editor that does all those video clips for you guys throughout the day. So we're trying to grow here, and we're trying to see how it goes. But overall, he's been doing a pretty good job. So shout out to Franco in the chat, my friend. So a voter tells Kamala he has big concerns about her shoving Biden aside and taking his place as the nominee without earning a single vote. More passion, more effort, more passion.
I feel President Biden was pushed aside.
Oh.
A poco tiempo de las elecciones.
And so close to the elections, I believe these are extraordinary circumstances.
Given how close we are to the election. So, la pregunta, Mario.
And Mario's question.
The question, Mario.
So the question is, how can you clarify this whole process and how you were elected?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for being so candid and allowing me to answer the question. Thank you. President Biden made a decision that I think history will show was probably one of the most courageous that a president could make, which is he decided to put country above his personal interest. And he made that decision. He within that same period of time, supported my candidacy and urged me to run. He and I have been partners for the last 4 years as his vice president to him as the president. And I am honored to have earned the Democratic nomination. I am honored to have the endorsement of people from every walk of life. You will probably find that I probably have a bigger coalition of people who couldn't seem to be more different than each other, who have come together around my candidacy. From 200 Republicans who worked with and...
Okay, it's just going to turn... By the way, this clip is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Talk about a word salad. It doesn't answer anything. Hey, why did you sit there and kick out Joe? Joe was doing just fine on his own. Give me a break. Remember, this is the lady that thinks she won the Democrat nominee legitimately. She didn't get a single vote. That's not even democracy. You're not allowing people to select you to be their representative. They couldn't do it because they have nobody. They have no bench. It's not like the Republican Party, right? Where we got, I don't know, Ted Cruz, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance. I mean, you could have freaking Jason Chaffetz come out of the retirement. You could have all sorts of people coming out. Tom Cotton, Tim Scott, or Tom Scott. I always get those two confused. But, I mean, our bench is deep. The point I'm trying to make is Democrats just got Kamala. Were they going to chauffeur out somebody else? Cruz, thank you so much for becoming the Bald Bread Army. Look at that. 99 cents a month. That's all it is. That's less than $12 a year. We should start playing the puppy music, you know what I mean? It gets worse. It gets worse. Kamala calls for putting resources in the fentanyl. I told you it was botched, man. This is worse than one of the worst plastic surgeries ever, except it's a town hall. Look at this.
Many months of what could have been happening right now in terms of putting resources into fentanyl. Many months.
Many years, you dum-dum. You're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. She even, like, again, vows to grant mass amnesty to over 20 million illegal immigrants. It's like 25 to 30 million people she wants to give amnesty to. Do you think that's going to sit there and help your grocery prices and your bills? You think that's going to sit there and favor your voting, by the way? It's unbelievable. It basically cancels out your vote.
And do the work of focusing on what we must do to have an orderly and humane pathway to earn citizenship for hardworking people. And
we already have that. Just to let you know. We already have that. It's so funny how all of a sudden that things are already created and we're the ones that don't deal with reality. But when Democrats go, well, we need to create a pathway for citizenship. Yes, it already is there. You just have 20 plus million people that decided to disregard that whole pathway and come here illegally and just cut the line. And then we're supposed to sit there and not get upset the fact that they're getting our services, education, lawyer fees, food, housing, hotels, kicking out our veterans from places, that they're sitting there getting better aid and better humanitarian assistance than actual Americans are that are on the streets. But don't worry, Kamala Harris gave all those victims of the hurricane $750, woo, while Chicago's giving illegal immigrants $84,000 in cash and services. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, yeah, you're taking real good care of them. Yep. But don't worry, the Ukrainians get $60 billion. The Israelis get $10 to $15 billion. The Taliban's getting $87 million every 2 weeks. You got the Iranians who hate us getting $10 billion. But don't worry, you guys get $750, and you're supposed to be excited about it. So excited that you're supposed to show up in the polls and sit there and be voting Kamala Harris. And she put on record, by the way, she says, I will put my record up against anyone in terms of work I have always done and will have always have done to secure the border. It's so outrageous that I can't even say it coherently. Folks, when somebody's just so willing to just lie versus somebody that's just usually says the truth, it's hard for the truth teller to sit there and say the lie itself. Sometimes you will see me fumble because it's tough to sit there and say something that's so outlandishly false, it goes against my very nature.
South as well as what was coming north. So I will put my record up against anyone in terms of the work I have always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border. South as well as what was coming north. So I will put my record up against anyone.
No commentary needs to be added to that one. None. Absolutely none. Exactly. Chameleon don't do nothing. Exactly right. Well, here she is. Here she is saying, I used to spend $250 a week, this individual. Here's what Kamala had to say.
I used to spend $250 a week in food, and now it goes up to $350
to over $350 in groceries.
Not only do I talk about food, but utilities, clothes, everything is
like
much
water
more expensive.
And energy, and clothes.
Sí, y bueno, pues yo soy de la clase media.
I am middle class and I work a lot, and just like everybody else in the middle class, we work very hard. You said we're ambitious, but that ambition, sometimes it's really difficult to keep up with because we see life is going up and we just simply cannot go ahead. We can't move ahead.
Women, and you said we're ambitious, but it's hard to maintain that ambition when conditions are so hard, so challenging.
Yes. Mi pregunta es entonces,
so my question is as follows. What are you going to do to help the middle class so that the cost of living does not destroy us?
Thank you for the question and your point. Listen, I know prices are too high still. You know prices are too high still. And we have to deal with it. Here's how I feel about it. Again, you've heard my story. I come from the working class. I'm never going to forget where I come from. And part of what we have to do is build what I call an opportunity economy, where people have the opportunity, like you have described, for you to be able to work hard and your 5 daughters have an opportunity to then do what they and what you aspire for them to be able to do without having to worry about just getting by. I want you to be able to get ahead. So here's my plan. It includes what we need to do to bring down the cost of, for example, groceries. One of the issues I'm going to be taking on is price gouging.
Could somebody ask her, please, who's the companies that's doing the price gouging? Could somebody ask her, please, how she actually intends to take care of this? Because all she's doing is going, well, I'm going to sit there and build an opportunity economy. We already have that. It's called capitalism. It's called the free market. People can sit there and do certain things, but your party creates red tape. Your party actually hinders that free market from really thriving. Case in point, look at the way they handle energy. You got the EPA coming out. You can't fish in streams anymore. You can't dig a fucking hole. You can't sit there and do anything in the middle of the desert. You can't drill. You want to freaking put some drywall up in your house, you got to get an inspector, a permit, you know. You got to make sure, well, part of your mixture has to be 50% recycled. Opportunity economy. Yeah, opportunity for all the illegals. That's what she wants to do, not for Americans. I'll tell you somebody that wants to take care of Americans, somebody that actually supports your values and gets things done. That's called positive, baby. If you have a dog, we've all been there. Our pup goes from full energy to sick and miserable in just an instant, you guys. And at the worst time. Then we're calling vets in the middle of the night, sweating, freaking out, or even on the weekends, trying to find a clinic that will take us in. It's not easy to find somebody that's open, especially in the wee hours of the night. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels and your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the pet emergency kit called Positive. It contains critical medications and supplies that can not only keep you out of the veterinary office, which is nice, it also saves money, but may even save your dog's life. Their kits contain critical medications like activated charcoal, septic powder, and more. It might save your dog's life. Head over to positive.com and use promo code STUDIO to get 15% off your pet's emergency kit. Again, that's positive.com. Use promo code STUDIO to get 15% off, folks. Head over there. Again, if you have that preemptive measure, then the hope is that when your dog has to, get sick, that they don't have to go to the vet, that they could sit there and just take something and, be A-okay. So I just want to show you a couple clips from Tim Walz because it's pretty. We got our stream taken down again. That's wild, dude. That is wild. Wow. Okay. So that's 3 days in a row that YouTube has taken our stream down. It's just kind of interesting that it gets taken down just days after I sit there and post the fact that they're suppressing our channel. So 3 days in a row now, they're sitting there when we're a news commentary political channel that has a fair use agreement through the law, and they want to sit there and constantly silence us. Do you guys notice that? So for those on Rumble, we're still live. Just so you all know, that's over at Rumble. YouTube sat there for 3 days in a row now and has cut my stream. But it's all normal. You're right. Now I'm a little pissed. These freaking people are telling all of you that it's normal to sit. Yeah, exactly. They're cutting my stream for policy violations. What policy violation? What policy violation? We're covering the news. We're giving commentary. We have that through the fair use agreement, which is displayed in our description, by the way, the exact law. And this is the crap that they pull. It's frustrating as hell. That's why I told you guys, you know what? If anybody's a supporter, I really do ask you, screw YouTube at this point. Just head over and subscribe over to Rumble because you know what? I understand we got cool badges over there, but these are what these nut jobs are doing to us. Your policy violation. Is it a policy violation to unsubscribe people? Is it a policy violation that you're sitting there banning my subscribers from commenting on my videos? Is it a policy violation, the fact that they turn on their bell notifications and you assholes turn it off, meaning YouTube? I would never call you guys assholes. You know you're great. It's just odd, right? That they cut our stream 3 days in a row like this on YouTube for policy violations. I understand it's back up now. Just odd, right? It's just odd that days after we sat there and posted a video to Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube about the fact that they're shadow banning our channel and doing shady shit, that all of a sudden now we're seeing some wacky stuff, right? 40 views a video. That's normal with 65,000 subscribers. Don't get me going. So ABC here says to Tim Walz, would you have done anything differently than Biden over the past 4 years? Kamala's values have not changed. I swear, man. It's like this. It's like when you're talking to somebody that's drunk and it goes, hey, man, how you doing? I sat there and went to New York City. Just doesn't make any sense.
President Harris was asked this week on The View if she would have done anything differently than President Biden that he has done in the past 4 years. And she said, quote, there is not a thing that comes to mind. And she later said she would have a Republican in her cabinet.
Yeah.
And when it comes to President Biden and the presidency, would you see anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, and look, as a governor, I was asked to be governor of this state when Donald Trump was president and when Joe Biden was there. And I watched Donald Trump dismiss the COVID pandemic. I watched him drive an economy into the ground. And I watched Joe Biden and Kamala Harris pick those pieces up. And I think for all of us,
What? He created Operation Warp Speed, which you guys got the benefit of. All you had to do is ride in the guy's coattails. He was trying to sit there and beg governors like you to open things back up. Hey, Tim, you're the guy that allowed your city to burn down. You remember that? You allowed Black Lives Matter and Antifa to run roughshod over your entire city while you had the press out there. It's mostly peaceful while buildings were ablaze. He destroyed the economy. Give me a freaking break.
we make decisions, we reanalyze afterwards. I think the thing that drew me to this ticket, and I think what the vice president's talking about, is that her values on these hasn't changed. They have been working for the middle class. They've been doing all they can to make sure prices come down. They're protecting reproductive care.
So it makes me want to ask you, do you think that Biden's done everything right?
Well, look, I don't know if any of us do everything right, but I can tell you he's done everything in the best interest of the American public.
Yeah, sure he has. Holy lordy. He's done the thing for the best interest of the American public. I think you need to sit there and swap that out for immigrants and everybody else in the world. He sat there and put everybody else in front of Americans. And he just has the balls to say it, right? Because people believe it. People believe it. I wouldn't be surprised me showing these clips, you guys, that our YouTube stream gets taken down again. So just a heads up, it probably will. What do you say to voters who blame Kamala for the sky-high prices for the past 4 years? Waltz goes, going to grocery store, you see false information. So botched.
And let's talk about the economy. That is the top issue for voters out there. 74% of voters said the past year they've had to cut back on groceries because of the rising costs, of course. And a lot of those voters, they're concerned that they cast their vote for Kamala Harris, but she's responsible for that. So how do you reach those voters? What do you say to those voters who may blame her for the economy right now?
Yeah, folks in the middle. Well, we talk to them about what are the policies that are going to make a difference. And we see some of the data, but data doesn't impact people in their daily lives. Going to the grocery store and you see false information, whether it's bird flu impacting eggs. But the reality for most people is if those costs are up, they want to know what you're going to do about it. I think that's why she's focusing on making sure whether it's home ownership more affordable, tax cuts for the middle class, and let's just be candid about this. There's price gouging piece of this.
And let's talk about the economy.
Don't worry, folks. Going to the grocery store, you see false information. Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. The question is why hasn't Kamala done anything of the things she says she's going to do for the first 4 years in the White House? And this is what he had to say. Like, why hasn't she done anything? She's vice president now. Why hasn't she worked with Joe Biden to figure this all out?
They were saying that, hey, these are policies that Kamala Harris could have done 3 years ago when she was in the White House with President Biden, and she never did. What do you say to people who bring that up?
Well, Donald Trump had 4 years to do it, if you're going to talk about that. And what the point is, you need a partner in Congress. You've seen these. We've seen different bills that are ready to pass, and Donald Trump makes sure he steps in. We saw it around immigration, a bipartisan bill, widely respected.
Hey, Tim, you idiot. The question wasn't about Donald Trump. It was about the lady that you're sitting there running for office with. Oh, I was governor. I sat there and did so much stuff. You can't even sit there and answer a freaking 5th grade question, dude.
Wanting to make a difference in this, holding true to our values, securing the border. Donald Trump steps in and says, look,
whoa.
Of a bipartisan bill, widely respected, wanting to make a difference in this, holding true to our values, securing the border, in this, holding true to our values, securing the border, in this, holding true to our values, securing the border, in this, holding true to our values, securing the border. Donald Trump steps in and says, look, that's going to hurt my political future.
Holding true to our values to secure the border. Keep it together. Keep it together. Terry's over at Rumble becoming a supporter. Terry, thank you. You leave YouTube, come over and support on Rumble. At least they carry our values. And you know what? They're not going to pull our streams. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And by the way, more of that money goes back into us that we could put in the show. So if YouTube's taking 30% cut, Rumble might take like 10 to 20 or something like that. I can't remember. But all I know is we get a little bit more from Rumble. So greatly appreciated that. Thank you, Terry. God bless you. I appreciate everybody that supports you guys. Thank you so much. Even watching. Thank you. God bless you, because this is the crap that we got to deal with together as a community. This is the crap that we got to listen to. It's our values to secure the border. Since when, dude? Since when? Your party sat there and fought Donald Trump freaking every day when he was president because he wanted to build a border wall. It's our values to secure the border. No, it's not, you idiot. You could do it tomorrow. You can do it now. You can do it in an hour. So Tim Walz crashes and burns trying to explain why he lied about the weapons in war and being in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre. He botched this during the debate. He still doesn't have an answer. The guy's an idiot. You would have to admit that at some point this would come up, right? You would have to at least have the wherewithal to know that I need a better answer to this question. He still doesn't have it.
Yourself a knucklehead. Call yourself a knucklehead because you've made some statements that just aren't true. And the comment about weapons of war that I carried in war, which you didn't. You said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when you weren't. You kind of chalked it all up to bad grammar or getting the dates wrong.
Yeah.
But your opponents say you lied to make yourself look better. Do they have a point?
Well, look, 35 years ago, got the opportunity to be in Hong Kong, be in China, learned a lot about it, served 24 years in the National Guard, passionately, in an instance, talking about gun violence in schools, on an instance there. Proud of the service that I've done. Proud to be a teacher in that classroom. Proud to have been very public all these years and owning it when I, said, look, I was there in August of '89. And I think what you see here, you saw it in Minnesota. I've been elected 8 times here. These things have been very public for folks here. They see the results of things that we pass. We see a state that's a top 5 state for business. We see third best state, top 3 state for raising a child, and we've got the best health care. And I think the policies, whether it be dealing with China and understanding China's human rights record, what you can be certain there is that Kamala Harris and I aren't going to, pick dictators on speed dial. See, Xi Jinping is doing a good job during COVID as Donald Trump.
Jesus, dude. Just look. The American people are very forgiving. You sat there, you lied. Just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That was a really stupid thing to do. I definitely probably shouldn't have said that. Whatever. Come up with something and then move on. I mean, if it's, he said it was like 30 years ago, like, okay, whatever. We can all move on at that point. Something we can't move on without giving acknowledgement to is Eric Birch here with the $5. Thank you so much, sir. Patriot family, exactly right. We are a family here of like-minded people, and it's the community, I think, that really draws people, and it's not the show itself. It's the community that we're building here, and no other creator has this. I'm telling you, folks, they have a community, don't get me wrong, but they don't have a community that knows each other's names. We're growing in such a way to where I think it's actually perfect growth in the sense of there's new people that are being added into the chat that then can get to know the regulars, and the regulars can get to know the new people and then invite them in. So really appreciate everybody that's joining us here. If you're new to watching us, hit that follow button. It's absolutely free on Rumble. If you're over at YouTube, head over to Rumble nonetheless, but subscribe over at YouTube if you would like. Rumble does a great job in supporting the show. Shout out to Dylan, shout out to Franco, and shout out to the secret agent to volunteering, or in other words, helping as well the show. Franco's our editor. We got Dylan, who's our content coordinator over at Rumble, and we got Secret Agent, who is our moderator. Always appreciate the hard work that they put in behind the scenes to the show. And also, I want to appreciate and shout out all you fine patriots for joining us each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to have this be the outlet to bring you the news before you jump into everybody else's podcast. We will be back here tomorrow, Saturday. We're actually going to revamp the setup here, not spending more money, but trying to get things to operate a little bit smoother for myself. So we're going to restructure a little bit of what we got going on here and tidy up, clean up a little bit, make sure things in the performance is a little bit better for all of you. Folks, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow us over at Rumble and YouTube, wherever you want. Check out our website, Bald Brad. We do have a book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Pick yourself up a copy on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I think some online Walmarts have it as well. And with that being said, God bless you. Have a lovely weekend, Patriots, and I'll see you later here on the Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.